Welcome back, teacher candidates and cooperating teachers. This final module, Module 4, will take a look at station teaching and supplemental teaching, and at the end it will do a quick review of our expectations for co-teaching. Station teaching is a strategy in which the co-teaching pair divides the instructional content into parts. Each teacher instructs one of the groups. Groups then rotate or spend a designated amount of time at each station. So what would station teaching look like? Here's an example. Let's say it's test review day, and you decide that there are 4 things you would like students to review. At Station 1, Teacher 1 would play a short vocabulary matching game with the students. At Station 2, students could reread their notes from the unit independently. Station 3 would have Teacher 2 reteaching a concept that a formative assessment showed many students were struggling with. And at Station 4, it would be another independent station where students pair up and quiz each other using flashcards that are at the station. And so as you can see, in a classroom with 2 co-teachers, 2 stations would be run by the teachers and 2 stations would be independent. And both teachers would be keeping an eye on the independent stations. If you're lucky enough to have a support staff person or a special ed teacher teaching with you, that other adult could certainly run one of the stations or help you monitor the independent stations. Please watch this short video clip on station teaching.
In this strategy, station teaching, the co-teachers divide their class into small groups to provide instruction at separate stations.
Station teaching is a chance for 2 teachers to work together and provide some individualized attention to smaller groups of students while covering several different pieces of the curriculum.
Sharon and Jan have divided their class into 4 small groups, and those groups rotate between specific stations, each station presenting different but often related content. Jan will teach Station 1 and Sharon will teach Station 3. At Stations 2 and 4, students will work independently, with both teachers monitoring their progress.
When you can get them in these groups, you can employ a lot of different strategies. For one thing, it's more sort of 1-on-7, which makes it more manageable. But the other thing is we can strategize who we put in the groups.
We can also group by ability. So I can take some extra time with a group who maybe has fewer skills, and I can let the more independent learners work on their own. So it allows us to split our groups up into a variety of different configurations.
After a designated amount of time at each station, the groups will rotate.
And the nice thing about working with stations is we can really modify the curriculum to match what our students need, because it's much smaller pieces. It's not an hour of one topic, it's several small topics in shorter amounts of time.
Station teaching reduces the student-teacher ratio, increasing student participation and effective monitoring of the students.
I think you can also identify and feed into the curiosity of students better when you're in exploration stations, because you can actually see right in front of you somebody kind of, oh, this is grabbing my interest, and you can kind of run with that and make an educational moment out of it, and also a memorable moment and an engagement moment.
Since this is a highly engaging instructional format, teachers may need to manage the noise level in the classroom. To be effectively implemented, the activities at each station should function independently of each other and should require roughly the same amount of time to be completed. It is recommended that this strategy be used frequently to enhance learning outcomes.
Something that's really important to me as a teacher, I feel like the kids are being heard in the small groups a little bit more, because everybody gets the chance to speak.
There's a lot of different models we can follow, but it's always together and it's always with each other in mind and our students first.
The final co-teaching strategy that we will discuss in these modules is supplemental teaching. Supplemental teaching allows one teacher to work with students at their expected grade level, while the other teacher works with those students who need the information and/or the materials extended or remediated. So when would we use supplemental teaching? Let's say last Friday, 7 students from your class were gone. They were singing with the honors choir. Well, those students missed the lesson where you introduced the Pythagorean theorem. So today in class, Teacher 1 could instruct the majority of the class in applying the Pythagorean theorem, while Teacher 2 would introduce the Pythagorean theorem to the 7 students who missed that instruction. This could be done within the classroom if you have a large enough space where hearing the voices of 2 teachers wouldn't be distracting, or Teacher 2 could take the smaller group to an alternative space within the school. Now you have learned all 7 co-teaching strategies: 1 teach, 1 observe, 1 teach, 1 assist, team teaching, parallel teaching, alternative or differentiated teaching, station teaching, and supplemental teaching. Here are a few expectations we'd like to review. We ask that you try all 7 co-teaching strategies a few times each. The second one is probably the most important. Make co-planning a priority. Use that teacher prep time during the school day to co-plan your lessons. That way it's not left to the last minute, or it's not left to when you're busy. Co-teach as often as possible, except during your solo time. And once again, the amount of solo time will vary based on the length of your placement, and this length of time should be discussed with your university supervisor. Your last set of assessment questions will ask you these 3 things. First, describe a scenario in which it would be useful to use the station teaching strategy. Second, describe a scenario in which it would be useful to use the supplemental teaching strategy. And lastly, when should the co-planning of the lessons take place? Cooperating teachers, teacher candidates, thank you so much for completing these 4 modules. Your university supervisor is excited to see co-teaching implemented in your classroom on his or her next visit. Cooperating teachers, we'd like to thank you again for hosting a teacher candidate and for taking your time to be a mentor teacher. We wish you all the best as you work hard with your students, and we hope co-teaching is an incredible experience for you all. This module, Module 1, will go over the goals of the co-teaching presentation. It will give definitions of co-teaching and its terms. After that, it will discuss what research says about co-teaching. The first module concludes with Bethel's expectations for student teaching. Module 2 covers 2 co-teaching strategies: 1 teach, 1 observe, and 1 teach, 1 assist. As you work through the co-teaching modules, we hope you will be able to understand the purposes, definitions, and uses of the co-teaching strategies. Understand that the research shows co-teaching has more favorable outcomes than the traditional model. And we hope you will be able to describe the expectations of the teacher candidates, the cooperating teachers, and the supervisors during the student teaching experience.